The first lesson. The darkness beyond the window offered no comfort, only reflection. Edrick saw himself in the glass, a king who looked the same as he had yesterday, yet fundamentally changed. The green light from his chest had dimmed to barely a flicker, but he could feel it there, constant and patient. "You're still standing at that window," Rose said from the doorway. She'd returned with fresh bread and cheese, though they both knew he wouldn't taste it. "Shamaz says you need to eat anyway. Maintain the habit, even if the need is gone." Edrick turned from the window. Rose looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes from too many sleepless nights. She was 25, strong and capable, but the weight of watching him transform was taking its toll. "I should send you away," Edrick said quietly. "You should live whatever years you have somewhere far from this." "We've had this conversation." Rose set the plate down firmly. "My answer hasn't changed in the last 3 hours." The devourer stirred at her defiance, amused. "She loves you beyond reason. That makes her weak. That makes her yours to use." Edrick pushed the thought away, though he couldn't be certain anymore where his thoughts ended and the entities began. That uncertainty was perhaps the most dangerous thing. "Shamaz wants to begin tonight," Rose continued. "He says the techniques are most effective when you're exhausted, when your barriers are already strained. Something about forcing you to build new defenses from nothing." Edrick nodded slowly. The old scholar had been preparing for this, gathering texts from 3 different civilizations, cross-referencing techniques that might help a vessel maintain control. No one had ever tried what Edrick was attempting. No one had ever merged with all 5 fragments and lived. "No one ever will again," the devourer whispered. "When you break, I will be whole. When you break, I will be free, and I will make certain no prison like you can ever exist again." "Tell him I'll come down," Edrick said. "Give me a moment." Rose hesitated, then nodded and left. Edrick picked up the bread, forcing himself to tear off a piece and chew it. The texture was there, the mechanics of eating, but the satisfaction was absent. The devourer was slowly disconnecting him from his body, making him forget what it meant to be human. He ate anyway, each bite an act of defiance. The archives were colder at night, the ancient stones holding the day's chill. Shamaz had cleared a space on the floor, creating a circle with what looked like salt mixed with silver dust. Candles surrounded the circle, their flames steady in the still air. "This is a meditation space," Shamaz explained as Edrick approached. His voice was hoarse from days of constant research and little sleep. The Urith used it to train their priests. The Naswewana adapted it for scholars seeking clarity in complex texts. I believe we can adapt it again. Aluria stood near one of the archive tables, studying a scroll by candlelight. She looked up as Edrick entered, her dark eyes assessing. "The technique requires absolute honesty," she said. "You cannot hide from yourself in the circle. The devourer will use any deception, any self-delusion as a weapon." "I'm aware," Edrick said. The fragment in his chest pulsed with interest. "Yes, let them try their ancient tricks. Let them think they can teach you to resist me. It will make your breaking all the sweeter." Edrick stepped into the circle. The moment his feet crossed the salt line, he felt a subtle shift in the air, as if he'd entered a space slightly removed from the rest of the world. "Sit," Shamaz instructed. "Cross-legged, hands on your knees, palms up. The posture matters. It's about openness, not vulnerability. You cannot fight the devourer with walls alone. You must learn to be exposed without being consumed." Edrick sat, assuming the position. It felt unnatural, this deliberate vulnerability. Every instinct screamed to guard himself, to raise barriers, to never show weakness. "Close your eyes," Shamaz continued. "Breathe. Count your breaths, 1 through 10, then begin again. When a thought arises, acknowledge it and return to counting." "That's it?" Edrick asked. "Counting breaths?" "That's the beginning," Aluria said. "The devourer lives in your thoughts, feeds on your reactions. By learning to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them, you create space. Space it cannot fill." Edrick closed his eyes and began to count. 1, 2, 3. "This is pointless," the devourer whispered. "You think counting will stop me? I am woven into your very consciousness. 4, 5, 6. I know your fears. I know you're terrified of outliving Rose, of watching her age and die while you remain unchanged. 7, 8. I know you're afraid you've already lost yourself, that the man called Edrick died in that convergence chamber. 9. I know you wonder if you made the right choice, if dying would have been easier. 10. Edrick opened his eyes, sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold. It's not working, it just talks over the counting. Of course it does, Shamaz said. That's the point. The devourer will always be there, always speaking. The question is whether you listen, whether you react, whether you let it control your response. Try again, Illyria said. This time, when it speaks, don't fight it. Don't argue, simply notice that it spoke and return to counting. Edrick closed his eyes again. 1, 2. Your commander Aldwin is discussing contingency plans with her officers. How to kill you when you break, where to strike to be certain. They're drawing diagrams. 3, 4. Rose has her sword sharpened every night now. She practices the strike in her mind. Quick and clean, through the heart. She's preparing to kill you. 5. The words hurt, but Edrick kept counting. 6, 7. You're alone in this, truly alone. Even surrounded by people who claim to love you, you're alone with me, forever. 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3. The devourer fell silent, as if surprised. Edrick continued counting, finding a rhythm in the numbers, a small island of stability in the chaos of his mind. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Very clever, the devourer said, but its voice was different now. Less certain, but you cannot count forever. 3, 4, 5. Edrick lost track of how long he sat there, counting and breathing. The candles burned lower. The cold seeped deeper into his bones, though he barely felt it. The devourer continued to speak, but its words became like distant thunder, present, but not immediate. Finally, Shamaz spoke. Enough for tonight. Open your eyes. Edrick did. His body was stiff from sitting motionless, but his mind felt clearer than it had in days. The devourer was still there, still whispering. But for the first time since the merger, Edrick felt a genuine separation between his thoughts and its influence. That was the first lesson, Shamaz said. Creating space. You'll practice this every night, building the skill until it becomes second nature. Eventually, you'll be able to maintain that space even in battle, even in crisis. How long did I sit? Edrick asked. 2 hours, Illyria answered. Longer than most manage on their first attempt. 2 hours. It had felt like minutes, or perhaps years. Time was already becoming strange. There's more, Shamaz said. He gestured to Rose, who had been watching silently from the shadows. The second lesson requires trust. Rose? Rose stepped forward, her hand on her sword hilt. The Urith texts say that isolation is the enemy. The devourer wants you alone in your head, fighting by yourself. The second lesson is learning to let others in, to share the burden without being vulnerable to corruption. I don't understand, Edrick said. You will. Rose drew her sword, the steel whispering against the scabbard. Stand up. Edrick rose, uncertain. Rose took a combat stance, sword held ready. The devourer knows your every thought, she said. It knows what you'll do before you do it. But I know you too. I've trained with you for 15 years. I know how you move, how you think, how you fight. She attacked without warning, a controlled strike that Edrick barely dodged. He had no weapon, only his reflexes and the sealing blade's power that now lived in his blood. Don't use the devourer's power, Shamaz called out. Only your own skill. Rose attacked again, faster. Edrick deflected with his forearm, felt the sting of steel against skin. She wasn't holding back. The lesson, Rose said, pressing her advantage, is that you're not alone. Even if the devourer sees your every move, there are people who know you just as well. People who can match you, challenge you, keep you honest. She swept his legs, and Edrick went down hard. Before he could rise, her blade was at his throat. If you start to change, she said quietly, if you start to lose yourself, we'll know. We'll see it before you do. That's what it means to not be alone. She withdrew the blade and offered her hand. Edrick took it, letting her pull him to his feet. She will hesitate, the devourer said. When the moment comes, her love will make her weak. She will not strike fast enough. The devourer says you'll hesitate, Edrick told Rose, that you'll be too slow when it matters. Rose smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Then the devourer doesn't know me as well as it thinks. I've already killed you 1,000 times in my mind, Edrick. I've practiced until I could do it in my sleep. If you fall, I won't hesitate. I'll grieve, but I won't hesitate. The certainty in her voice made something shift in Edrick's chest. Not the fragment, something human. relief perhaps, or gratitude. That's the second lesson, Shamaz said. Trust. The devourer will try to isolate you with doubt, make you question everyone around you. You must learn to trust anyway, even knowing the risk. There will be more lessons, Aluria added. Every night will teach you something new. Ancient techniques for maintaining identity, for building mental fortresses, for sharing burden without sharing corruption. The cultists are waiting, Edrick said. 2,000 of them across the kingdom. They're patient. Then we'll be patient too, Shamaz replied. This is not a battle that will be won in days or weeks. You said it yourself, even if it takes forever. Edrick nodded. The weight of forever pressed down on him. But for the first time since the merger, he felt something like hope. Not that he would win. The devourer was ancient and patient and impossibly strong, but that he might hold, that he might endure, that he might be enough. You think 2 hours of counting breaths changes anything? The devourer asked. You think your friend's sword at your throat makes you stronger? I have eternity. I have patience beyond your comprehension. These little tricks will not save you. Edrick didn't respond. He simply began counting again in his mind. 1, 2, 3. The devourer's frustration rippled through him, and Edrick recognized it for what it was. Fear. The ancient evil was afraid because these little tricks were working, because for 2 hours Edrick had created space it couldn't fill, because Rose had proven that he wasn't alone in this fight. 4, 5, 6. Tomorrow night, Shamaz said, we begin the third lesson. For now, rest, or what passes for rest. Edrick left the archives with Rose at his side. As they climbed the stone stairs, she spoke quietly. It's working, you know. I can see it. You're more yourself than you were this morning. It's a long way from one night of meditation to forever, Edrick replied. Then we'll take it one night at a time, Rose said. That's all anyone can do. One night, one day, one moment at a time. They emerged into the corridor. Guards stood at attention, their eyes carefully neutral as their king passed. Edrick wondered what they saw when they looked at him. A protector? A threat? Both? In his chambers, Edrick returned to the window. The cultists were still there in the courtyard, 200 motionless figures waiting in the darkness. But something had changed. Edrick had changed. He had learned the first lesson, creating space. He had learned the second, trusting others to share the burden. And tomorrow, there would be a third lesson, and a fourth, and as many as it took. The devourer raged in his chest, but Edrick began counting again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The war had truly begun, not with swords or fire, but with breath and numbers and the small, persistent act of remaining himself. One count at a time, one night at a time, even if it took forever.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.